Welcome back to the second of my 2-Minute Tuesdays. My name's Mike, and each week I'm doing a shallow dive, a super shallow dive, into some of AWS's services for those just starting their cloud learning journey. Now, this week I'm going to be looking at AWS's Global Infrastructure. And what I mean by that is, how does AWS, which, if you're not aware, stands for Amazon Web Services, how do they organize their global infrastructure that allows them to help businesses around the world by providing durable and available storage and compute and other services? Now, global infrastructure isn't technically a service, but it underpins every other AWS service, so it's worth giving 2 minutes to. I've also enlisted the help of a diagram here. So let's get 2 minutes on the clock here. Now, before I start, I'm going to explain the infrastructure from the smallest up to the biggest. It's kind of like a Russian doll in the way it works. But yeah, I'm going to do it that way just so you can see how it's pieced together. Okay, let's go. Now, the smallest part of the main infrastructure is a data center. A data center is a big physical high-tech warehouse. It contains row on row of servers, computers, storage systems, switches, and lots of things that I don't know about. Now, with AWS, you have a number of data centers that are geographically close together, just a few kilometers apart. And there are over 200 of these data centers around the world. So let's zoom out. The next level up from a data center is what's called an availability zone, also known as an AZ. Now, an AZ is just a generic geographical area that's made up of multiple data centers. So if you store your data in a specific availability zone, because there are multiple data centers in each AZ, even if one data center fails for any reason, your data and computing power is still safe as it's replicated across other data centers within that AZ. Now, zoom out again, and we find that these availability zones are grouped into regions. These regions are well-known locations. So there's a London region, there's a Paris region, there's a Tokyo region, etc. So a region is comprised of at least 3 availability zones. Now, overall, there are 31 regions around the world, and I know there are at least 5 more on the way. So one benefit of this global infrastructure is availability. If there's an issue in one location, having your data backed up in multiple AZs, which is always recommended, or regions even, removes the level of risk of losing the ability to operate. It also allows for global agility. If I wanted to, I could provision some computing power in Japan in under 5 minutes. So if I had a Japanese business, their data wouldn't have to come all the way to me in London, which would create latency, but it could be local to them in Japan, creating a much better experience for them. Now, that's good for speed, it's good for lots of reasons. It's also good for compliance. If they need data to be stored in specific places, it solves that. Another benefit is relatively unlimited elasticity. If my new startup has exponential growth, AWS's services can cope with scaling up rapidly. I don't need to panic and order more compute power and then wait for 2 weeks for it to be delivered and then provisioned. I can scale up in minutes in any way I need to. So we're done. That's 2 minutes. As I said, this is just a shallow dive. I haven't mentioned anything about local zones or edge locations or wavelength zones. There's plenty to Google yourself if you want to, or other benefits like flexibility and performance, but that's plenty for today. I hope the diagram was useful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next 2-Minute Tuesday when I explain what I should have started with probably, which is what even is the cloud? We've heard of it, we've used it, but what does that actually mean? And it's nothing to do with the rain and the weather. Anyway, have a great week. I look forward to seeing you. If someone might find this useful, please feel free to share it. Otherwise, I'll see you next Tuesday.